Hey everyone, welcome to Wellness Wednesdays with Stephanie. I'm your host, Stephanie Buckland, and I am so excited and just super delighted to be interviewing my friend and colleague, Pam Fisher. Thank you so much for joining me today, Pam.
Thank you. I'm excited too. We get to have a conversation from one country to another.
I know, right? That's so cool.
Yeah.
So you're based out in Canada, right?
Yes, yes,
That's
in
so cool.
Saskatoon.
Yeah, so I'm here in Arizona, where it is, I think it's 109 today. It's very warm.
Wow,
But
crazy.
yeah, so I would love for you to introduce yourself to the audience. Let them know, let's see, who you are, what you're up to in the world, and what kind of magic shows up as a result.
Love that question. My name is Pam Fichtner. I'm a registered massage therapist and integrative health practitioner. I've been practicing massage therapy for almost 30 years. So I've been at this for a long time. And I kind of have do a little bit of everything. I trained as a massage therapist, but then I also have training in lymphatic drainage and craniosacral therapy and visceral manipulation, um, kind of integrating my treatments with all those kind of things. And then I have Reiki and chakra balancing and energy work kind of things as well as working with trauma too, and somatic experiencing. And then my big kind of focus within all that is breast and chest massage therapy. I work with a lot of breast cancer patients as well as just general breast health education. I teach, I do all sorts of things. So that's kind of like a short thing, and I'm sure Stephanie, you'll kind of ask more questions about that.
Yeah,
But
yes, for sure. So, what led you to all this? So, it sounds like you started in massage. Is that where it all like
yes,
started? So,
yeah.
why did you get into everything else? Like, how did it all kind of unravel for you?
Well, that's a good, yeah, a way to kind of think about the unraveling of it because I feel like, when you start something, you're like you don't necessarily know like everything that's gonna come out of that, right?
Yeah.
And I think for me, the piece around like massage therapy um, came from I was working in the downtown East Side Women's Center in Vancouver with women on the streets. I have my BA in sociology, so I was just working as a crisis worker there, and what I found was touch. I missed the touch aspect. Like I'd be talking to my clients, and they would want me to like just give me a hug, or they're dealing with something really traumatic, or trying to just face their day, right? And so it would be like just putting a hand on their shoulder or that kind of thing I found was really helpful, more than words, more than I could do with just talking to them, right? And I had had experience with getting massage for my own injuries, and craniosacral for my own healing from past trauma. So I kind of knew that already from a personal experience. So then I felt like, you know what? I want to go into that field and to work with touch, and offer that, in a more intentional way, to my clients. So kind of that was kind of the entry into it.
Nice. Yeah. I had a similar experience. I started out just doing coaching, just like wellness coaching and like teaching people about wellness. And I had already been a yoga teacher, but I experienced a Reiki session And I was like, I need to learn everything I can about energy healing because it fascinated the crap out of me. I was like, oh my
I
God, what
love
is
it.
this thing? And
Right.
it just kind of guided me into then all of a sudden my psychic abilities showed up. I'm like, wow, okay. So
Nice.
it's amazing how life just kind of unfolds like that. So
Yeah.
I love the fact that, it's like your own experience guided you into this work. Because I think that happens for a lot of healers, that it's
Yeah.
like this healer be healed concept where we see the need, we see our own need, we follow a trail of healing, and then all of a sudden it's like we want to turn back and teach everybody else and show everybody else how powerful this healing practice is. So I love the work you're doing. I absolutely love craniosacral massage. I think it is fascinating and amazing and totally energy based. So
Yeah.
that's a natural next step of Reiki, and chakra balancing, like it's all kind of interconnected. So I
Yeah.
love that. It's so yummy, like everything that you do. So I'd love to talk a little bit more about healing touch. So, like, that seems to be a guiding force for you for your entire business and everything you do. So,
Yes.
inspire me. How do you incorporate that into everything you do?
Well, it's so interesting because I feel like I get that feedback from my clients quite often
Mhm.
is just how like the touch that they're receiving is powerful, and whether it's working through like a particular injury, or they just are feeling emotional about the loss of their mother, or um like I had a client yesterday about that, and I was doing lymphatic drainage with her. Um but it was like just that, I think the awareness that I have with whoever is coming in, they bring their story, you listen to their story, you hold that
Mhm.
story, or I hold that story with me when I'm providing care for them in the whatever capacity it is, whatever modality. And then it, I, it's a interesting question, because it's like, how do you translate that through your hands?
Mhm.
But it does come through, like it's something that, like, you're talking about magical in a way, right? Because it is that kind
Yeah.
of like felt sense of energy and movement, and it's that reciprocity too, right? I think with our
Mhm.
clients, right? Like,
For sure.
we're engaging, we're connecting with them and their bodies, and but they're also giving that feedback with it, right? Like, like they might be like one client of mine, she's very vocal, and she's always like, yeah, and oh, like just different things, right? And
Yep.
like she's very like, expressive in how she can respond to that and feel it in her body, and that, sometimes you have to have a certain awareness that a lot of people don't have, but it kind of guides me, and I'm at this point, in my career, because I've been doing it for so long, is it's such a, I think, sixth sense. Like, I don't, I'm not thinking about some things. Like, I'm just all of a sudden I'm in a certain part of someone's body, or doing something, holding their head, and it's just, I'm just trusting it. I'm trusting the process, right?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
I have, I have the skills, and I have the knowledge, and I have that awareness and permission, from them to those be like, just do what do what you do, Pam. Like,
Yep. You are describing like my favorite massage therapy because I've been with different therapists. Of course, I've had chronic pain for most of my life. So massage is one of my favorite modalities. And I have followed all kinds of therapies that are kind of attached to massage therapy or that come with the training, or that the therapist will pursue. So, what led you into breast and chest massage? Like, what was that? Like, it was it oncology?
Well, that's yeah, and interesting because when I went to massage school, we did like just one class for a couple days, and I really resonated with it. And I had been working like kind of like volunteering at the Vancouver Women's Health Collective in Vancouver before I started massage school. And
Hmm.
I had done, other work in other women's centers and stuff, of course, volunteering and paid. But it was just like I wanted to come to my training in massage from a feminist perspective and, really
Right.
holding women's bodies and women's experience as, key and central to that work. And, breast massage is you know, it was in our training, but it wasn't really like, everyone's gonna rush out and start doing, breast massage, right? Because it has a taboo with it. It very it sec can be, breasts are very sexualized. There's a lot of vulnerability. There's sexual trauma. There's a lot to unpack with it. So, um. I was kind of like, well, I want to be that person. I want to have, a women's health focus in my massage therapy practice, one of which is, being a supportive caregiver to women's breasts. And what the backstory is that my grandma had breast cancer like years
Okay.
ago when I was like in my mid 20s and she lived longer, like she didn't die right away when after her breast cancer journey. And but I was kind of close to her, and so I you know feel like I had that in my back of my head, like always about wondering, am I going to get breast cancer? Because it's in the
Oh,
family,
yeah.
right? Like I was, this
Hmm.
unconscious fear around it.
Yeah.
And
Well, and Western
so,
medicine loves to tell us that it's a danger if you got family that had it, right? So,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, so then I was like, so it just kind of like and I wasn't consciously aware of it totally, that oh yeah, this is because of my grandma. But then I eventually started being like, no, the reason I'm doing this is because I want to be proactive and knowledgeable and understanding you know the signs and symptoms for breast cancer, and I also want to support other women who have had breast cancer and who haven't had the support in their own lives, or my because my grandma, that was in like the early 80s, I think, where when she had it, and she didn't talk about it with anybody. Like, no, hardly anyone in my family even knows about it or
Wow.
knew about it.
Yeah.
It's like, there was a lot of shame around that,
Mm,
and there
yeah.
still is to some degree. So, to me, it's like giving a voice to what she may never have been able to articulate, right? But I can give
Right.
voice now to my clients who can get that now and receive, care, lymphatic drainage, or scar work, or teaching them how to do their own self-care. So it's kind of the cancer component, but it's also other, which we could talk about more, but more like
Sure.
just women who don't have cancer, but just breast health prevention, and also trans people who have gender affirming top surgery, like their experience, and then women who have breast reductions and implant. Like there's just the whole spectrum that I've really expanded on in my work.
So beautiful. I love what you do. It's so, so needed. There's so many
Yeah,
people that like we need touch. I think that's one of our basic human needs. And
yeah,
when it comes to things like cancer or surgery or, just changing the body in some way, when the scars create a trauma, that
yeah.
alone can be a reason to go pursue like healing touch because I know I have a scar on my wrist that I actually cover up with bracelets almost daily, and I
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't realize I was doing that like as a coverage of the scar, but it's such an obvious scar because it's a strange surgical scar. It's shaped kind of like a Z, and
Oh,
so it's like this conscious but unconscious reaction to something that really it's an experience that I had. And
yeah.
it's an experience that actually guided me into what was next for my life. That's what led me into yoga practice, was the surgery
Uh,
that happened in my 20s. So it all is interconnected. And I think that, just giving people a voice, telling their story, allowing them to tell their story, even if it's just to you, to
yeah.
express it, to say it out loud, because the
Yeah.
power of that voice can be very healing as well. So that's beautiful.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's
Yeah,
so true. And, a lot of people that have had whatever, like you say, it could be any kind of surgery, right? But for me, I work more with breast surgeries and they haven't sometimes told anybody, right? Or like sometimes even like not even touched. Like I had one woman come into me years ago and she had had the breast surgery, mastectomy, but she hadn't touched it. Like she'd never even touched her scar. And so then she was like, "No, I haven't even looked at it. I haven't even touched it since the surgery." Like she just
wow,
and I was like, I was kind of surprised, but I was like, "Okay, well, do you want to touch it now?" I can put my hand there and you can put your hand over top of my hand. Would you like to do that? Because
mm-hmm,
you're giving me permission to touch it. So, and, so then she's like, yeah, yeah, I'll put my hand over top of yours. And, and for her, it was just like she didn't have that, acceptance of it in her body, and she didn't have, there any integration of this happened, or it was just cut off, right? I just don't want to deal with
right,
that, right?
right,
And
yeah,
so it can be, such a process of like getting to know that part of the body again, whether it's been injured or had surgery or that kind of thing, to kind of go, okay, now I'm back in with you now, like
yeah.
yeah,
Well, and I think that really does speak to self-care and self-education. I think that we, as human beings, we can heal ourselves, but we're not taught that by our society, by our teachers, by our doctors, anyone really. And the doctor's the first defense. Like we don't know that our bodies are the things that are doing the healing. It's not the doctor, it's us. We're the ones doing the healing. And
yeah,
so a lot of my work has been to just remind people that you are the self-healer. Your body can heal itself and give them permission to have that awareness because that
yeah,
leads to so many beautiful things. Like
yeah,
somatic awareness, I think is a fantastic example of how the body heals itself. Because when you can start to be aware of what's happening inside of you and start to see the movement of energy or the movement of the feelings of pain or pain that goes away, these concepts come very clearly when you're able to be somatically aware of what's happening in your body. I
yeah,
personally, I do a lot of my own self-care, because I speak for that on top of everything I do. And I think
Yeah.
that being that kind of inspiration for people where you tell them this, you have permission to do this, that you're
Yeah.
safe to do this, it is safe to
Mm-hmm.
hold yourself, it's safe to massage yourself, it's safe to touch yourself, that these are things that women are not taught. I think over centuries we've been taught to shame ourselves and shame our bodies, and what the
Yes.
heck is that? Why would we do
Yeah.
that?
What the hell is going on
So
there?
what on earth were what? And it's been passed down from woman to woman for such a long time that these are things you cannot do, or we're not allowed to do these things. So I think as we become a little bit more aware in our society, just a global, with the internet and this global society that we do have, I think that understanding ourselves is a lot of what's happening. It's almost like the internet is playing mirror for us and holding up a
Mm-hmm.
mirror to who we are as human beings and showing us where we're broken and showing us where we're, traumatized, or, trauma has become a huge conversation. So I would love to talk a little more about your experience with becoming a trauma informed practitioner. And so it
Mm-hmm.
sounds like it started when you were in your social work, and it's just kind of morphed into this beautiful business that you do now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you for making that link there because it is true. It's kind of like that piece of working with, in the women's center, and I worked up north too as a social worker, and it's that base of the awareness of that we all are living with some different levels of trauma, some more than others, some rooted in sexism, some rooted in racism, some rooted in, ableism, like all these levels of how we kind of operate in the world, right? And I think
Definitely.
for me, like, uh, I was or have been trained in the massage therapy, but I always felt like there was a bit of a missing piece with like the somatic level of getting, into like supporting people through trauma. And so
Hmm.
I think yeah, 3 years ago, I started doing this somatic experiencing training with Peter Levine, and from the United States there, and he's
Yeah.
like amazing, practitioner, has been working for over 40 years, developing these principles, right? And what I really like, what drew me into that was kind of his approach is very comprehensive. Like,
Hmm.
you don't have to be like a massage therapist or a social worker or a counselor, or you could be an art therapist, you could be uh psychologist, you could be, yeah, any number of disciplines, and use this within your discipline, which I really
Nice.
liked
Yeah.
about that. And and it's very experiential, like you would do uh like the training was like a 4-day training or a 6-day training near the last year, and it was all just like, me talking with you, like I'm gonna be, let's say I'm the therapist, you're the counselor, or I'm the therapist, you're the patient, or
Hmm.
client, and then somebody else would be the observer, like another fellow
Uh-huh.
student. And then we'd
Right.
also have like the teaching assistant too. So we'd be like in a pod of like three, and then this teaching assistant, like, and you would do it right there, like whatever exercise we were doing. Like, it was very supportive in that way, and you could stop and say, okay, I this is what I think I want to say to that person, or to help guide them into, help guide you into your what you're sensing in your body. And then, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure the words, or I'm not, anyways. So, and they would be, yeah, you could stop and then like to do it. So it was very, supportive, it felt like a
Nice. Yeah.
supportive container, because trauma is very much gets activated, in
Oh yeah.
my nervous system and your nervous system, but as a potential client, and everybody's all activated in this whole room of like 50 people, right? So,
Oh my goodness.
because we all have, like, everybody's got some level of trauma. So it was
Yeah,
really good because they really helped to, like, you know, uh bring that down, like, to a really, safe, in which you had mentioned before, like having that safety and trust is so important, right? And
for
so, like, a
sure.
safe container, and then it's like guiding someone into how they can be connected to their body, and they might, whatever, anybody that we have on the table, might not have that awareness, might not have that sense of, like, if you say, well, do you feel safe, or do you, like, where are you holding trauma, or, they'd be like, I don't know. I, yes, I'm dealing with all this stuff, but I can't feel it anywhere in my body. I don't know. And so it was really good, because it's those kind of more harder ones, like, that I needed support or help or guidance with, because it was
Right.
like, it's easy for someone who comes in and say, I'm holding all this trauma right here. I can feel it right in my throat or my chest. It's like, okay,
Right.
yes, let's work with that. But it can be more difficult for people who are not as aware, who are shut down from it,
Yeah.
like in
Right.
numb phase.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so that was really good for me, because it was like, okay, we can try to work with you. Well, if you can't feel it in your body, that's okay. Like, is there any place in the room that you feel like where you might feel safe or calm, or, oh yeah, looking at that plant, I start, and what do you feel when you look at that plant? Oh, I kind of feel like I can breathe a little easier. So it was neat. It was good for me to
Yeah.
kind of have that feedback, and to know that, okay, then I can help guide somebody into that, in a more, what we call it, like, in the somatic thing, is more titrated kind of way, where we
Mhm.
go into experiencing some of the tough parts, right? Like with the activation, but not stay there. Like, then come back to the place where, oh, you're feeling more grounded or safe, or where do you feel like more calm in your body, so that your body starts to learn, oh, I can hold that, but I can also come back, so it's been a real journey for me of helping people to navigate that.
That's wonderful. It's yeah, God, I think that what's really amazing about the work that we both do, it's recognizing that first, most humans are pretty complex. We're complicated. We've got layers, we've got complicated things, we've got different traumas, we've got different things we hold on to. But then also recognizing that we're actually pretty damn simple. Like, we have basic needs. We have, touch is one of those basic needs. Food, we need water, we need sleep. But what's super interesting is when those things get messed up. So if you're not
Hmm.
eating well, or if you're not drinking enough water, or if you're not sleeping well, these can be very powerful shifts in how you can
Yeah.
show up in your body and in the rest of the world. It's like we forget that we have these basic needs in order to satisfy, the hustle and grind, or I got to go to work tomorrow, but I didn't get any sleep last night. And, these feelings of I need to satisfy like the requirements of my life. And
Yeah,
yet
right.
I'm
Yes.
forgetting about self-care. I'm forgetting about me and what my body
Yes.
needs. And I think this is something that we come back to as healers, is that we remind people that you have a body and that body needs care. and you have a
Yeah.
mind, and the mind needs care, and the work
Hmm.
is truly, it's like a permission slip for people. It's like an open door for like an expansion or a greater opportunity to see yourself and see your truth as a
Yes.
human being, right? It's
Yeah.
so amazing. So I love this conversation. So oh
Yeah, it
my
is
goodness.
nice.
Okay. So where else can we go? You mentioned at the very beginning you do visceral manipulation. Can you tell me what that is? Or like how that works?
Yeah, that's like another kind of. I learned that when I was with cranial sacral. Then it's another. It used to be within the cranial sacral family of like then you would take
Okay.
visceral classes, but now they're kind of on their own through this John Paul Barat from. He's from Paris.
Okay.
And so it's his kind of techniques, and it's working with like all the different organs, like say like yeah, liver, gallbladder, stomach, colon, kind
Hmm.
of doing like some movements with that and helping to release like tension and energy in the organs. Um,
Oh yeah.
so yeah, it's a nice adjunct. I like doing it with cranial because I find that's a
Hmm.
way to get into it, and that's how I also do like when I'm doing somatic experiencing for me because I'm massage therapist and cranial psychotherapist. That's how I work in like most of the time like I'll say to people, do you feel comfortable doing this somatic session, on the table, or we
Sure.
could do it
Right.
like just sitting across from each other. But, I'll offer them like, do you want to be on the table? Because that's how I tend to work, but I don't have to. Now most of the day, oh yeah, let's go on the table. And so then I will use like do cranial sacral, like my hands on the person, like just connecting in as a way, okay, so where are we going to start today? What do we want to focus on? And like kind of that as an entryway into it.
Yeah.
So I really
Well,
do like,
the viscera is very much a place that it's another place that we're taught we're not supposed to touch, or like we're embarrassed,
yes,
about whatever's going on there, or there's, feelings of like, no, that's like a sensitive spot. You don't do that, right?
it's
And I
such a
think
vulnerability, right?
such a vulnerability, yeah. And yet touch can be very soothing. And this is, for me, I in my yoga practice, so it really started with the yoga practice and getting just really in touch with my own body. But I took a class that was focused on somatic awareness, and it changed everything in my life because I started to pay very close attention to like my digestion, my heart rate, my breath, and like different pain processes or muscle tension places in my body. It made it so I could talk to myself and talk to my body
Yeah,
and ask
right.
questions and be
Right.
curious about what's going on in here. And I think that really changes how you perceive your reality. Because
Yes.
you are this body. You're not
Yeah.
this body, but you are this body, so there's
Right,
this
right.
paradox, right?
Yeah, that you have that, connection with it, and that it is giving us feedback all the time, but sometimes
Yeah,
we don't necessarily listen to that part of it. And
right.
if we can, keep that relationship going, I think it's like I do also, when you say yoga, I do teach yoga too. And I just teach one class, like, and I call it breast and chest health yoga.
Ooh,
So
nice.
it's kind of nice because I feel like it's like kind of brings everything together that I'm doing, and it's and some people in the class have had breast cancer, some people not. Um, but it's more about like working with like chest openers, like, you
Hmm.
know, um, going behind, doing reverse prayer, or like warrior pose, just thinking about your chest, or sometimes I do like actual like lymph kind of movements coming down and doing like a lymph
Hmm.
drainage like in the class, and
Nice.
doing them, getting them to do some pumping motions or laying on bolsters and opening up. So like all different poses and all different, ways of doing things. Like I'm all, I bring in balls sometimes, or I bring in blocks, or do belts, or like change it up for them so it's interesting. But for me, it's again, it's through that lens of what are you noticing in your breast and chest health as we're doing this? Do you feel open? Do you feel closed? Can you bring in that awareness to kind of clear that? And let's think about the lymph. Let's think about the breath. Let's think about, all the things that you're talking about, but having that connection with your do you feel pain here? Do you feel like any sense of because some people don't really, right? They don't have that
Yeah.
sense of their body awareness. And so if we can kind of be in that position, through our teaching, we can help people to access that, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think it really depends on how you were raised, the people that were around you, whether or not they were acknowledging their body. My mom was always very self-aware, and she taught me, I was 8 years old when she taught me progressive muscle relaxation. And I
Oh,
learned this tool that became a tool that I still teach today about just deep breathing and acknowledging each muscle system and tensing and relaxing and like getting into your body. That is such a powerful practice. And I think it opened the door for
yeah.
understanding myself and my body in a way that I wouldn't have had she not expressed that, to her young daughter. I
Yeah.
was her oldest daughter, so mom of your first kid, this is your experiment because you don't really know how to be a mom.
Yeah.
And yet
Just
she
passing
was
it on down
amazing,
the line.
right? She knew, she was very intuitive. She knew what my body needed, and she was very, very aware that I was holding tension and I was holding stress in my body, and was teaching me how to release it at such a young age. So I am so thankful for that, because had I not known how to relax, it
Yeah.
wouldn't I wouldn't have been led into the life that I have lived in this, for the last 25 years. I've been doing healing therapies and different things that I do. And it all is because of those things, those early experiences. Even the trauma. I had a
Yeah.
trauma when I was 15 that really shook me to my soul. And I think that the trauma was part of my guidance system to understand healing on a deeper level.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's so much true. It's like you talked about at the beginning about like the wounded healer, right? And
Yeah.
it's so like I see that so true. Like, because I had when I was 15 too, I had like was diagnosed with epilepsy.
Oh,
So
wow.
I have like been living with that all my life, and so it's I've had to adapt and adjust, and but I've kind of seen it as over the years, as my spiritual teacher, right? In terms of how I have had to adapt my life. Sorry, my throat. to to live with it, and I think it's brought me more compassion to my clients as
Oh,
well,
yeah.
because I've know what it's like to live with a chronic condition,
Yeah.
and how that can change in a dime, like things can shift for a better way or not a better way, right? Like,
Right.
and And so, having your own trauma does help with that. And I've dealt with, my own sexual trauma when I was 15,
Sure. Yeah.
and so that's another component that, has helped me in helping to deal with my own clients who are mostly women who have
Sure.
dealt with, various levels of sexual trauma in this, patriarchal,
Yes,
misogynistic society that we live, right? So then it's like holding that
definitely.
too at the same time is just like,
Yeah.
what you had said earlier, right? We have that capacity to heal. We have those skills. They might not be obvious to all of us at the time, right? And sometimes it can take years and years, but if we can, find that path through, like we are resilient, right?
Yes, we are.
You
That's one of
know?
the most beautiful things about humans is that we adapt to almost anything. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing, but it's also a bad thing because we can adapt to abuse and trauma and all kinds of like really unhealthy things that can
Yes.
start to create, this is where PTSD comes from. This is where,
Yeah.
a lot of our really
Yes.
deep trauma comes from is the adaptation to years of trauma that we expect that it's going to be okay. And, I learned something recently that was just so profound about that we come into the world expecting unconditional love. And our parents are conditional. They don't understand conditional love because all of their life is conditions. Their job, their relationship, their marriage, their upbringing, their parents, their grandparents, their experiences all are conditional experiences. So just this concept of we're raised in an environment of all these conditions, and yet we come in with like a spiritual understanding of what unconditional love is and don't see it anywhere in the world. And we're disappointed
Yeah.
constantly because where is the love?
Right.
Where is the love? There's got to be love here. Where is it? And I think that's what we give people as healers is love. It comes from
Yeah.
like a beautiful place of
Yeah.
recognizing what our soul needs and giving the the client that space to feel tenderness, to feel vulnerability, to feel
Hmm.
compassion. I think even self-forgiveness, recognizing our own shame and saying it's okay that I
Yeah.
experienced this trauma and I can heal. It's okay for me to release it now. So oh my
Yes.
goodness. Yeah, I love this. So when you do your work, so you have regular clients, you have classes that you host, your yoga class. So it sounds like you also host other kind of classes.
Yeah, yeah, I do a little bit of teaching to the general public. I teach like breast self massage care, like things that they can do
Ah,
for their
okay.
own selves at home. So I teach a class in that, and I teach massage therapists how to do breast massage so they can go and do it in their own clinics. And at the school, I have taught as well. And then I just recently taught this one for the first time because I was thinking, oh, you know what? I want to do like a whole day. I have had clients say, maybe you should do.
Like a
And
retreat day kind
yeah,
of
like
thing.
so I did
Yeah.
it was called, I called it Women's Wellness Retreat Breast Self-Care Day. And it was really
Nice.
fun. It was like out of town at this ancient spa. It was like a retreat center. And but it was really funny because it was like it was in May. Was it in May? Yeah. And there was like a snowstorm. Like it was like
Goodness.
crazy. It was like this, or actually it was April 25th. So it was, but it was not like there was this huge snowstorm. People had to cancel because they were like, no way, we can't drive on the roads. Like they were coming from out
Right.
of
Yeah.
town. So, anyways, it happened. There was 6 women there in the end, and And it was really fun. Like I really enjoyed it. Like I taught yoga, we did a meditation. I, taught them how to do their own breast self massage. We did like a little walk outside, and then we did this art collage, like for their breasts and with the art about what,
Oh,
it meant
yeah.
for them and like it was just, and then we did some dancing and movement to like we're getting our breasts moving. Anyways, like it was fun. It was good. It was a
That
good
sounds
day.
awesome. Yeah.
It was all focused on the
Wonderful.
breasts and breast healing. And we don't take that time as women, right, to do that, right?
Yeah.
I made this one very
Yeah.
specific women focused. I might do one another time with more like LGBTQ trans folk. Um,
Yeah.
but for chest health awareness as well. But yeah, I
Yeah.
like doing those kind of things, right? It's
Yeah.
kind of
That's
taking it
wonderful.
out, into the, because we talked about at the beginning, right? A lot of times, like breast health is kind of kept down low. Like I've had this, I was doing
Hmm.
this for 30 years and I still don't, it's not like I'm having like, lots of people coming to all the classes, like 10, 20, 30, 40. Sometimes it's five,
Right.
sometimes it's 10. Like it's small amounts because I feel like there is like a cultural resistance, like a
Hmm.
patriarchal kind of shame and
Oh, yeah.
disconnection with like really honoring our breasts and taking time as women for this part of our body, even if we don't necessarily have a problem with it, but it's still a
Hmm.
part of us. And to
Yeah.
me, it's
Yeah.
like, just holding some light on it, shedding some light on it, even just for like an hour or two or maybe a day, and then you carry on and do whatever else you're doing, but then it gives it gives us that, our bodies, I think, that nourishment and that deep
Hmm.
recognition and validation that this part of me is important and it matters, to
Definitely.
how I
Yes.
am in the world, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah. I think it
yeah,
it it speaks to our wholeness. Um, that's
yeah,
something that I think what I've learned becoming trauma informed myself is that we have expressed this concept of like I'm broken or there's something wrong with me, and we disassociate from ourselves or we pretend that doesn't exist, and then we go on with our lives and wear a mask and pretend, oh no, that's not
mhm.
real, but it's real that we have this perception of brokenness, and yet we are whole. We're always whole.
Yes,
And
yes,
I think that's what we do as practitioners is we remind them of their wholeness and give
yeah,
them permission to see their whole self. And I
yeah,
think, if women are disassociating from one of the most beautiful parts of their bodies and not acknowledging this part of themselves, like how beautiful it can be to finally say, yes, I love this part of me. I
yeah,
acknowledge this part of me, and it's like it's like shining a light on them and saying you're beautiful and you're perfect and you're whole, and giving them that permission. It's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, I really like
So
that. It's true. It's
yeah.
like, I am whole and complete, and
Yeah.
we tend to separate off different parts or not, like like we're kind of like all chopped up, right? A lot of
Yeah.
times like we're only in our head, or we're only really thinking about some other part of our body, like our feet or whatever's hurting in our back, or and
Right.
so it's kind of like, okay, let's just take the whole piece, you know
Yeah. Yep. And that, it circles back to somatic experience and like being in your body and recognizing different parts of yourself and all of that. So, oh my goodness, Pam, I've loved this conversation. Is there anything else that we didn't cover that you'd like to talk about today?
I don't know. I mean, I think we covered quite a bit, right?
Yeah, we did, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's express to our community how can people reach you? So
Hmm.
give them, your socials, your website. How can they get in touch with you?
Great, thank you. Well, my website is sephirahealing.ca. So
Mhm.
you can go there for I've got like a blog on there. I've got my upcoming workshop. I'm teaching breast and chest massage therapy workshop at the Canadian Massage Therapy Conference in Calgary in September.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm excited about that. And then my Instagram and social are just at Sephira Healing. So
Okay.
uh, I mean, Facebook is Sephira Healing, and then the Instagram is at Sephira Healing, and
Sure.
those are the
Okay.
main
And I'll
ones.
share all those links too in the
Yeah,
description. So if
that
you need
sounds
something to
great.
click, we will have those for you. Okay. So website, Facebook, Instagram. Awesome. And um, just a final question. Do you have any inspiration for us?
Oh, I think when I think about inspiration, I feel like being connected to, what brings you passion. That to me
Mm,
is what can, drive you and drive like us, like either individually or as practitioners or just out in the community. Like it could just be something like going for a walk, or it could be like dancing or, reading a book. What really brings you passion and really helps connect you to your joy inside yourself? I think that's
yeah.
important.
Yeah. Thank you. That's
Thank
beautiful.
you. My computer is starting
Awesome.
to die here, so
Oh my goodness, perfect timing. Well, I just want to say thank you. This was an amazing conversation. Thank you so much.
thank you. It was great to meet you and talk with you. I
You
love
too.
that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
for sure. Okay.
We'll talk to you soon. Okay, keep me posted on everything.